former Attorney General Pam Bondi has just wrapped up a closed-door interview with the House Oversight Committee, where she forcefully defended the Justice Department's handling of the Jeffrey Epstein files. What did you ask her? What did she say?
Well, first of all, on a human level, I wished her well in her recovery from cancer. What we wanted here was just answers to help the survivors. And what she told us is that Todd Blanche was really managing the whole thing. So we need to ask Todd Blanche questions. She also told us, surprisingly, that the FBI it scrubbed a lot of the documents or held a lot of the documents before they got to the Justice Department. That means that we need to ask Kash Patel, why were those documents redacted or what documents were missing? And then finally, when pressed on whether some of the individuals should be prosecuted, whether they should be investigated, she deferred to Jay Clayton, who's the U.S. Attorney in the Southern District of New York. And so we need to ask him, what is going to happen to the people who raped or abused or trafficked the victims?
Did she have anything to say about what kinds of documents, what sort of information the FBI withheld from DOJ?
She did not. But what was very surprising is she said that some of the documents were withheld by the FBI. As you know, Casey, because you've been covering this for a long time, in March of 2025, the FBI first scrubbed those documents. And the law that Thomas Massie and I passed, the Epstein Transparency Act, required all of the documents to be released, particularly the survivors' statements to the FBI in 302 forms where they name names. It turns out that when the Justice Department got those documents from the FBI, a lot of had already been redacted or missing. And so some of the answers that we need are with the FBI director.
So does it stand to reason, or is it your understanding then that the FBI withheld interviews with survivors where they talked about the people who abused them and named their names? That's part of what the FBI withheld?
They either withheld them, there's some documents that were missing, or they redacted them so that by the time the Justice Department got them, they were already all redacted. Now, the Justice Department did additional redactions, and they showed members of Congress unredacted versions of what the Justice Department had redacted. But even members of Congress were seeing documents fully blanked out, which the FBI had done. Why does this matter? Because the survivors named the names in the 302 documents that the FBI had already redacted.
And did she have any explanation for why Blanche was so involved, why he had so much control, especially considering it was she who initially held those public events where she spoke with people who were invested in it, and she went and famously said that she had the client list on her desk?
She just said that this is the responsibility she gave Todd Blanche. Look, she wanted to say this is Todd Blanche, this is Kash Patel, this is Jay Clayton, which means that they need to come before the committee and answer questions. I have much less of a interest in making this about the people in the Trump administration. My concern is, why are the people who raped, abused, and sex trafficked these survivors still out there facing no consequences? I get texts, Casey, almost every day from a survivor saying the names are in the files. Why are they not being investigated? Why are they not being prosecuted? And I feel a personal responsibility to the survivors. And so this is not gotcha. I wasn't out there to try to get Pam Bondi. I'm trying to understand, what is it going to take to get investigations and prosecutions to move forward?
So speaking of these names, you have worked extensively with Republican Congressman Thomas Massie on this issue. And he, of course, lost his primary after the president targeted him in his Republican primary. Massie has since said that he plans to name names before he leaves office. Do you have any idea what the plans are for that? Do you plan to participate? Do you know how he might do that?
I do not know. I haven't talked to him about this matter since he lost. The reality is that the survivors have told us through lawyers some of the names. My view is it'd be much better to get the documents out rather than relying on survivors to do that. But I will talk to Thomas. What I can tell you about Thomas is he's got 7 months still in Congress, and he's as committed to this issue as I am. He's had survivors break down in tears in his office, and this is personal for him. And we're going to do everything we can to expose the people who did wrong.
Outside of the room, a group of women who survived abuse by Jeffrey Epstein called on Bondi to provide the public with more information, including why the Justice Department says there's no need for any further investigation of Epstein or his alleged accomplices.
The Department of Justice is simultaneously telling the American people that there are no additional investigative leads worth pursuing. We can see with our own eyes when we look at the Epstein files that this is not true. These files contain leads, names, connections, friendships, patterns, witnesses, travel records, financial relationships, and institutional failures. In any other sex trafficking case of this magnitude, those leads would be aggressively pursued. But in this case, they have not been. And as citizens of this country, we should all be asking why.
Casey, as you know, this was a much anticipated appearance by Bondi because she has faced a torrent of criticism for her handling of all things Epstein, from her promise to release a client list that DOJ eventually said didn't exist, to the release of the Epstein files that failed to redact victim names and other sensitive information. Now, Democrats say behind closed doors, she tried to place a lot of the blame for these mistakes on the now acting Attorney General Todd Blanche. Let's take a listen.
It is clear in just this part of the interview that she continues to push all of the investigation and the blame on acting AG Todd Blanche. She said, and I quote, "Acting AG Blanche was managing the entire investigation," end quote. And what you're going to hear in that interview, and what she's saying here in her words and remarks, is that it was Todd Blanche, the current acting AG, that was leading the Epstein investigation, and quite frankly, all of the mistakes that we saw, the redactions, not protecting survivors, she continues to push that back onto the acting AG, Todd Blanche, who, by the way, was Donald Trump's former personal lawyer.
Now, after the hearing wrapped, Bondi shot back on social media saying that was not true, and instead she praised Blanche's Herculean efforts and also had kind words for his current performance as acting Attorney General. Now, she's the 13th witness that the committee has interviewed so far in its investigation into the Epstein case. Now, it does appear, though, they are turning their sights to Blanche and potentially FBI Director Kash Patel to have them come in and answer questions. But as you noted, because this happened behind closed doors, it was not recorded, it was not broadcast, we really have to wait until the committee releases that transcript to know exactly what she said. I also want to address those photos of her that you showed. She has a bandage across her neck. She is currently receiving treatment for thyroid cancer, and she tells me she had surgery just a few weeks ago.